Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode, we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Adrian Paglia, founder of In Bold. Adrian works with aspiring entrepreneurs and side hustlers to help them move from idea to action, building businesses, personal brands, and careers that align with what they actually want. Through his work, he helped many people go from feeling stuck and uncertain to launching their own businesses and creating new opportunities for themselves. Adrian, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me, Liv. Very excited.
It's a pleasure to have you, and I'm very much excited to dive in and learn a little bit more about your journey. So, Adrian, with all of my guests, I do actually like to start at the beginning. So, if you don't mind briefly taking me back to what it was you was doing before you started up in Bold, and then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
Yeah, sure. So I actually have a background in HR and recruitment,
Awesome.
doing that for probably about 6 to 7 years at the time. And to be fair, I always kind of knew that I had a bit of a zest to do something else, or it's kind of like that inner knowing that some of us have in the back of your mind, or just when you kind of like have those days where you're thinking, what the hell am I doing this for? How did I get here? I guess because the career in recruitment wasn't necessarily on the plan, but it was a place that I sort of ended up in, and I guess that kind of ties into the crux of why Inbold started. So the the whole ethos around the brand is to live your life in bold, which essentially means to step out of your comfort zone and go and do something that maybe feels a little bit scary, or feels a little bit outside of the status quo. And that
Yeah.
usually means chasing or following a dream. And obviously, a lot of the time, it does have that sort of entrepreneurial flair where you do end up like going out and starting a business or a side hustle, and I guess following your dream that you thought was, I guess, unobtainable. It's about kind of going after that. So I was made redundant. I reckon I've lost my job more than 5 times, but I've definitely been made redundant at least 4 times.
Wow.
And it kind of just got to the point where I was like, what the hell am I doing? And why do I keep kind of reinvesting my time in, I guess, a very crucial part of my career journey, which is in your, like, that kind of like mid 20s to late 20s to early 30s. Why do I keep investing my time and my skills into making someone else rich, essentially? And so I decided the last time I was made redundant was the straw that broke the camel's back, and I'd kind of like already started to build the business a little bit in the background, and I just thought I think it's time to put that business at the top of the priority list. Because if, as anyone who knows, if you've had a side hustle or you're doing anything on the side, sometimes your day job still remains priority one, and the passion project gets kind of put to the side. It's a hobby, it's kind of something that you don't really prioritize. So I decided to make that switch, put the business at the top of the list, and yeah, the rest is kind of history.
We decided to be bold for change, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can miss the fun there. But also I my brain went straight there. I don't know if obviously the English in me, but naturally that is a great slang word for just like being outrageous, like you are being bold, you're standing up for yourself, you're being authentic and moving forward. So I think it fits so much within that kind of entrepreneur space. As you say, that's kind of the essence, a little bit of what an entrepreneur is. It's being bold, it's standing up for themselves and taking that leap. And naturally, yeah, with a side hustle, I think a lot of people start a side hustle with the intention to move forward, but eventually I think the security of that job does kind of neglect that they have to kind of stay within that rhythm and in that lane they've built for themselves and moving on from there. But obviously, with your background in HR and even recruitment, they're a great stepping stones for any business. You learn so much within that industry. It's just kind of applying them to something that you want to do moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. I think the the to your point, it sounds all well and good. And I think we're sometimes sold the dream of like, just quit your day job and go all in on the
Yeah.
business. And like, I actually coach against that in my business. Like, all of my clients, even though I obviously want them to end up there and that is the end goal, it's about kind of working systematically in a way that can get you there without I guess, losing the fun in why we start these passion projects or side hustles, because often once we start putting financial pressure on it, it actually becomes super stressful and we lose the fun and the essence and the why. And I think Inbold is very much about helping clients to find that why and make sure that that is your guiding North Star with all of your decision making moving forward so that we're not caught up in, finances and I guess
Yeah.
operating sometimes from a place of like that scarcity or lack mindset where we're making decisions out of fear. So it's essentially being able to sort of help guide people to build something in a sustainable way because going from full-time to side hustle probably isn't like in this economy. No one's, I don't know about you, but I don't want to ever want to do that. And so, you know, girls got to eat. Like I've got, I want to go on holidays. I want to buy, the nice fancy dinners and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's about working systematically within your capabilities to sort of get you there in a way that builds a business
Yeah.
that is sustainable, but also allows you to live. Because if your business doesn't allow you to live, it's kind
What
of
are you doing?
unenjoyable, to be fair.
Literally. I couldn't agree more. And I love the way you put it, as you say, it's kind of that fear that often it kind of blocks your creativity in a way when you are developing those side hustles or those passion projects, you know. So just kind of allowing yourself to neglect that and just keep going with that thing and hopefully it rises to where you need to be. So let's dive into In Bold a little bit more then, just so listeners can have some context moving forward. So Adrian, at this point in who would you say like is your ideal client? Like who is it that you very, very much love to work with the most? And then from there, how is it you help them and how do you support them along their own journey?
Yeah, sure. So, dream clients for me are, I guess, the people who know that they're destined for more, just as an overarching umbrella, because they often are ready to take action, which is super important. I think, like we said before, sometimes we can have all the thoughts and the ideas and the want, but if we're not really ready to move on that, um, we will never get there. So it's people who, I guess, know that they've got more to offer. They want to build a legacy, they want to build a brand or a name for themselves holistically in their life, not even necessarily in their business or with a business, because a lot of the time, sometimes my clients aren't even business owners yet in the beginning. Sometimes they are just starting personal brands, building up, maybe social media accounts and things like that, and just kind of, I guess, reinventing who they are as a person and realigning to that most authentic version of themselves, I guess, so that they can then show up in the world that way. And then full circle, most of the time we obviously look at a way to monetize that and bring in some dollars because that kind of completes that full sense of fulfillment, I guess. So the clients are either service-based business owners, personal brands, content creators, or digital creators as well. I work with. So anyone in that world who's looking to kind of reinvent and reestablish themselves with
Awesome.
clarity and show up as that true version of themselves, that's the ideal person that I work with.
Yeah, I love it. So that anyone that's so they might not necessarily have a business yet already, you're kind of helping them unlock that. And it's very much easier said than done, like finding your authentic voice or finding who you truly are. So naturally, and then using that to monetize and just create a nice life and business for yourself on the back of that. Can you still help people that have that business already and just maybe looking to like realign it with
Yeah.
their version of success and who they are as well as a person?
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of meet the clients where they're at, I guess, is
Love
the
that.
best part about the business. So as long as you kind of fall under that category, we don't do product-based businesses or e-com because they're just kind of structured a little bit differently. I
Yeah.
didn't build a business in e-com, so I'm probably not the best person. There's a better coaches out there that can do that. But yeah, essentially we meet you where you're at. So if you've got an existing business and you've kind of hit that wall where you're like, I feel stuck. I don't know what I'm doing, or like all of my natural resources that were available to me have been used, and now I don't know how to go forward. That is kind of one type of person in one stage of that journey. There could also be the person who is, like we said, maybe they've just started and they've, maybe done the basics like created an Instagram, launched a website, made an email address, and now they're like, now what?
Yeah.
So we can meet them there. Essentially, then the kind of like a very early stage person is probably someone who has all the ideas but has zero idea how to execute. So I guess one of the best things about my coaching style and the way that we work in under this business is that we assess where you're at, your capabilities, your budgets, I guess we meet you exactly at that point that you're at, and then we build the strategy for you that's custom to where you want to go. So if I said to you, Liv, you want to end up at point X in 6 months' time. My role is to kind of break that down into logical steps so that we can actually help you get there in real, tangible, action-based
Yeah.
format. So I think that sometimes in the coaching world, it can be a little bit woo-woo, or it's a little bit like, high level, like just to believe in yourself and just do this and just do that. And it's, be authentic and like all of these kind of very general bits of advice that get thrown around a lot. I would say that my style is very much about giving very actionable, tangible things that you can actually go away and implement and do, so that we actually start to move that needle.
I love that because that is so what's needed as well, especially when you are kind of within that like half an hour phase. If you don't know where you're going with the business you have, or you don't know even how to set up what you're looking to do, it is that like systematic approach that is going to help the most. Being a bit woo-woo and just giving people general advice, like where are you going to take that? Like, yeah, just keep going along that road. But if you don't know what that road looks like, or you don't know where that road starts, you're never going to get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that you are providing them that, the clarity of what they actually need to build those businesses and you can meet them where they're at. It's a beautiful model. What is
Yeah.
it like to work with you then, Adrian? Like, what is your style, your approach to coaching?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm a good blend of kind of that practicality, but also, so my background is I actually have a certification in business and personal coaching that's
Like,
internationally accredited. So I guess my baseline skill set does have that more traditional coaching approaches where you are very much giving the client the space to explore, to get there on their own, to kind of like have those real triggering questions that kind of spark those internal thoughts and kind of remove mental blocks. So we definitely still need to work that way when running
yeah,
a coaching business, I think. Like I can't just sort of jump in and be like, right, Liv, this is all the things you're going to do and word vomit on you and give you a to-do list and just send you out the door because if you some of that stuff you might already have known, and it's not necessarily always about being practical. You do need to allow the client to have space to remove what's holding them back. So I think my role and my style is very much kind of like being able to quickly assess what's going to be the best and kind of I can sort of usually see the problem before the client can see the problem. And
awesome.
so my role is kind of to sort of help them eventually get there, see the problem, then also see the solution, and then hold them accountable to that solution and make sure they actually go and execute it. Because yeah, I find traditional coaching kind of forces you to not provide any advice, but I think that, allow everyone to get there. But if someone's paying and, I think that like at the end of the day, I'm promising that I'm going to help you get to your goal as quickly as possible. It would be not a
Yeah.
great service for the client if I was just kind of like, well, what do you think every single time? Then, client's like, I'm paying you to help me like for your advice too. So I think it's about having a blend. The Inbold brand itself is definitely a no BS kind of approach. Like there's nowhere to hide. I refer to myself as like a PT for your business. So if you say you're going to do something, I'll make sure that you do it. I work very closely with my clients, so they have pretty much 24-hour access to me all the time through like a private chat room. So, even if there's things that they need to work on in between sessions and things like that, there really is no reason why your progress should be stunted when you work with me because I'm as invested as you are in your business and your success. I kind of refer to myself as like a secret business partner in the
Nice.
process.
Yeah. Do you know what? The whole way through you was describing like your approach to it. My brain went straight to like he's like a PT of the business world. And you literally described yourself as that at the end of it because you are like that's the accountability you want from a coach. Like as you say, it's that like woo-woo airy, like you have all the voice, you have all the answers within you. Like, yeah, sometimes I don't. So like I need that kind of push along the front. And as you say, within the sporting world, whether you are a PT or just a general like coach in football or basketball, you have that accountability aspect. They're telling you the systems, they're providing you with the framework, they're cutting out the overwhelm and the fluff around it. So I like that approach. I think it's very much down to earth and what you need when you are setting up a business. Now, naturally, it's a very, very noisy world at the moment. So, like, I'm very curious to find out how you go about acquiring your customers. So, like, in terms of channels or methods, like, what are you finding most effective at the moment in just finding those right people to work with?
Yeah, sure. So originally, I do definitely rely on social media a lot. Instagram is very much like the platform that I would acquire new leads from mainly. And I do use that as my sort of like 90% of my marketing. I have also found that we run a lot of in-person events. and that works really well in bringing in new eyeballs to the brand. So usually we run, so a big part of, I guess, my personal brand is we obviously have the business coaching business, but then I also do a lot of motivational speaking as well, and in-person events and like panel interviews and things like that. So that is a really great way for, I guess, new eyeballs and new industries to come in. So I'm not industry specific. So, for example, one of the events that we did last year was focused around the fashion and beauty industry, and we had experts from that industry. And so, naturally, the flow and effect of that is like now I'm working with a lot of business owners in fashion and beauty who kind of got to know me through the event, obviously liked my style, followed me. Then, we warmed them up through, I guess, organic
Cool.
socials. And then now, like I think I've signed maybe three fashion stylists at the start of this year.
Nice
So
stuff. No, go for
yeah,
it. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, yeah, so that kind of like um very organic way of meeting people. I think the other thing that you need to be conscious of in this, and for me, was like what type of business do you want to build? Because I could build a coaching model business where I could go one to many, and the many could be 100,000 people if I really wanted to go down that road. But
Yeah.
I personally don't feel fulfilled working in that model. And this is my business that I want to run, that I want to love what I do when I get out of bed every single day. So I've actually was building a business that was going to be one to many towards the middle of last year, and I've actually reverted back to going one to one. I've kind of like started in one to one, went to one to many, and group coaching, and now I've kind of like taken the best parts of each of those and kind of morphed them into like a new program this year that's kind of a hybrid of both. So yeah, you definitely learn along the way for sure about what works and what doesn't work. But yeah, I think it's about building a business that you actually enjoy working in because it's your business at the end of the day. And I think sometimes we get so bombarded with so much advice out there, and there are so many. And like as a business coach, I obviously had other business coaches, and you end up listening a lot to what the right thing to do is. And sometimes you need to just turn all of that off and go inside and say, like, what do you want? Because it's your name at the end of the, what's the
Yeah.
saying? It's your name on the letterhead or your name on the doorway or
The name
whatever
of
it is.
the door.
So like
Yeah.
you get to decide. So build something that feels good for you.
That's so true. And it is just because there is so many noise. And it's not to say that people are wrong. It's not to say that all that noise out there you should be ignoring. But it's exactly what you said. You touched that right on the head. It's like build the business you want. Build the business that suits your life. Build the business that brings you the most fulfillment. And naturally everything else will be fine. It's just like redefining your version of success and moving it from there. So naturally you pivoted from like, as you say, one to one, one to many, and we're coming back to that more boutique one to one style. And like I think Instagram is a great platform to be doing like organic outreach on. And then even you're adding on the in-person events and the speaking. So just making sure you're in the right rooms, connecting with those right people, and naturally they'll find you as well. Do you ever run any form of advertisements, maybe just to bring a little bit more consistency to your online outreach, or is it just very organic from your front?
I do run some ads through
Cool.
Instagram in terms of like content pieces that I know
Yeah,
perform well and just to get in front of new eyeballs. Like as you know, anyone who uses social media as like a big part of your marketing, it's very hard to
great tool.
yeah, it's very brutal. The algorithm can one day be your best friend and then the next day not, and you're like, I did the exact same thing. Like it's very unpredictable. So if you find something that definitely works in terms of an organic piece, my advice would be for 100% put some ad spend behind it and just see where it goes. Sometimes it's the stuff that like often it's the stuff that you didn't expect to do well will do well, and then you might use that and bring in some very very cold top of funnel people that way. But especially if you're trying to grow your reputation as well and build a following, I definitely think that putting a bit of money behind certain posts has helped me.
Yeah, I can agree more. And as you said, like especially if it is done well organically, and you never know what's going to hit organically. As you say, the algorithm is changing forever. What you think works doesn't always work. And when you just throw something out there, you're like, oh, okay, you like that, then let's whack some ad spend on it. And it does. It's like putting gasoline on the fire. So you're just exploding what you're doing and reaching new audience. It kind of helps with the predictability that you need as well, which doesn't always happen with the organic outreach. So again, it's just a nice nuance. And do you have a team that are helping out, or are you kind of running the whole show yourself, like covering all the hats?
I've gone through phases of both. So at the moment, I am wearing all of my hats, but I have brought in help in the past. I definitely do have some like certain roles and things in the business that like from a contract perspective that I'll bring in at certain points. But I think business is seasonal. I've gone in 2026. I feel like I'm going into um, what I would like to call my more stable era, where I'm exploring, new ideas and things like that that I've got, rather than just, I guess, in this kind of endless grind of hustle, like how
Yeah.
many clients can I get on, how big can I get? I think for me personally, my nervous system doesn't respond. Don't know if that trajectory was going to
Yeah.
be great for me. So I've kind of leveled back out again, and I've
Love
got
it.
new ideas that I think as entrepreneurs, we always have new ideas, and it is hard sometimes to sort of not have that shiny object syndrome and pivot 100
Yeah.
times. So I think if you've put in the groundwork for a little bit on something and you've laid some good foundations, you should can reward yourself with maybe like exploring the new ideas. So at the moment, it's just me kind of cruising along with the clients that I've got, which is I'm happy with the number that where we're at and where the business is at. So,
Yeah.
but we'll see. I think next time I do an event, the events seem to be getting bigger, which is exciting. So I probably will need help again at that point.
Beautiful stuff. But it's nice, again, coming back to how you want to run the business, it's nice you can bring people in when you need them. You can cruise on that like lower waves, and then when the waves get bigger, you can take your time. It's like building the business you want at the time as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be, this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this forever. Like we can pivot as many times as we want. We can ride the wave, we can take it easy and just see what naturally happens, I think is a nice approach moving forward too. And with all that being said, like what are your ambitions or your visions for the company moving forward? Maybe when you think of the next 6 to 12 months, like, what are the goals or the targets you're hopefully looking forward to achieving?
Yeah. So I definitely think that I would love to explore the event space even more, um, and see how big we can kind of grow that because I'd really enjoy it. Again, about doing things I think that we enjoy necessarily. Like if we own the business, why are we not doing things that we like? So I love being on the stage. I love talking, and that's my happy place. So if I can factor a little bit more of that into the business, then that would be awesome. And yeah, a few other little cool ideas up my sleeve. One could be a podcast. I actually used to have a podcast a couple of years ago in a different business. So I think I know how much work's involved. So I'm kind of just
Yeah.
putting that off a little bit. But I would love to bring that in. I think for me, it's about growing a bit more of a community and focusing a little bit more on maybe non-money making activities that will
Okay,
grow the
cool.
brand to then later down the track bring in more money
Yeah.
making activities, if that makes sense. So, like I said, it's kind of about like for me, it's been in different seasons. I feel like I was really focused on money making activities and client work and that kind of thing. Did that, grew that. Now I would love to do like other things that are going to grow the brand and get my
Yeah.
name out there more as a focus. And then eventually that will kind of come back to money making later down the track. So,
Yeah. Nice. And it is sometimes about taking, as you say, like 2 steps back to go 4 steps forward. Like it is that approach, working on your personal brand is such a big thing at the moment. So if you can get that up, it's just another arm onto the business that makes sense to you. And you can obviously lean onto those stages and those events and just be where you want to be, which is a really cool
mm,
aspect. And Adrian, I have one final question to ask you. So
Sure.
if you could go back in time to a younger self and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward,
mm.
something you know now, but that you didn't know back then, what would you say to yourself?
There is no rush. I am super guilty of putting like so much pressure on myself because I think when you want something really badly, if like anyone, we are constantly raising the bar, and that's great. And that level of ambition is really awesome and it gets you to where you want to go, but there really is no rush and you're not behind. So you're exactly where you're supposed to be at that point, and everything is happening for a reason around you. So remember to have a little bit more trust in the universal process and don't force a circle into a square because yeah, there's a reason why you're at that stage where you're at, even if you can't see it now.
Yeah, I love it. As you say, enjoy the journey. Don't rush your way through it, which is really cool. And
Mm.
Adrian, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out best to work with you or connect with you if they would like
Yeah,
to?
sure. Best to find me on Instagram, send me a DM. I absolutely love chatting with people there. Voice memos are definitely encouraged. So my Instagram is age_imbold. So yeah, looking forward to connecting with some people there.
Lovely stuff. And thank you again for joining me. I really appreciate your time today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to go and check out Adrian. As you just said, drop him a message on LinkedIn, age_imbold. I'm sure he'd love to hear from everybody. Expect some voice notes back. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from $0 to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing and we'll see you on the next one.